I trusted him with my future. We saved, we planned, we dreamed about owning a home. But the truth came out in a single word: denied. The man I loved wasn't just broke. He was hiding 3 maxed out credit cards and a side of himself I never really knew. I'm 29. He's 31. We've been together for 5 years, engaged for 1. On the surface, our relationship looked stable. Steady jobs, decent savings, and a shared dream of finally putting down roots. For years, we rented tiny apartments, always telling ourselves it was temporary. Every time we walked past a row of houses, we'd point and joke, "That one's ours someday." For me, buying a home wasn't just about bricks and walls. It was security. A place we could finally call our own, where I didn't have to worry about rent going up or moving every 12 months. It meant the beginning of a real future. Marriage, kids, stability. He was always the one who pushed the idea forward. He'd scroll through listings at night, send me links, talk about backyards and barbecues. I thought it was sweet that we were both equally invested. So when we finally reached the point where we felt ready, it felt like a huge milestone. We weren't just talking anymore. We were about to make it real. At least, that's what I thought. What I didn't know was that while I was dreaming of a home, he was hiding the kind of secrets that could tear one apart. Once we agreed it was time, everything became exciting. Our weekends turned into little adventures, driving through neighborhoods, pointing at houses with for sale signs, imagining what life inside might look like. He'd joke about where he'd put the barbecue, and I'd picture a little garden with flowers by the window. We stayed up late scrolling through listings online. Some were far out of our budget, but it was fun to dream. We made Pinterest boards, picked out color schemes, even argued playfully about kitchen layouts. It felt like the most grown-up step we'd ever taken together. I thought we were finally on the same page, not just about a house, but about our future. Every conversation circled back to the life we were building, where we'd spend Christmas mornings, how we'd host friends, maybe even where a nursery would go one day. I trusted him completely. I had no reason not to. He seemed so eager, so invested, and it made me love him more. Buying a house was never just a financial decision for me, it was symbolic. It meant stability, commitment, permanence. It meant we were moving forward together. I walked into that bank full of hope, believing we were about to take the biggest step of our lives. What I didn't realize was that the step would land on a trap door he'd been hiding beneath me the whole time. The day of the appointment felt like a milestone in itself. I'd ironed my blouse the night before, gathered every document they asked for, pay slips, bank statements, proof of savings. I wanted to walk in prepared, professional, like the kind of couple who was ready to own a home. We sat in those stiff chairs across from the mortgage advisor, holding hands under the table. I remember feeling proud. Proud of us. Proud of how far we'd come. The advisor smiled politely, typed away at his computer, asked us the usual questions. I kept sneaking little glances at my fiancé, thinking, this is it. We're really doing this. Then everything shifted. The advisor's expression changed. His tone got heavier, more cautious. He looked at my fiancé, not me, and asked, "Are you aware of your outstanding balances?" I frowned, confused. My fiancé's grip tightened on my hand. The advisor cleared his throat and said the words that shattered me. "I'm sorry, but the application is denied. Your credit history shows multiple maxed-out credit cards and missed payments." I felt my face flush hot. Denied? Maxed-out cards? I didn't even know he had more than one. I glanced at him, searching for answers, but he stared at the desk like a child caught cheating on a test. The humiliation burned deeper than the shock. In that tiny office, with a stranger watching, my entire future collapsed in real time. We weren't buying a house. We weren't even close. What we had was a mountain of lies sitting between us, and I was only just finding out. The moment we stepped out of that office, I couldn't hold it in. I stopped dead in the bank lobby, looked him straight in the eye, and asked, "What the hell was that?" He mumbled something about a misunderstanding and tried to guide me toward the exit, but my voice rose louder than I intended. A misunderstanding? 3 maxed-out credit cards and missed payments? That's not a typo. That's a double life. People turned their heads. I didn't care. My chest was tight with rage and humiliation. He hissed under his breath, "Not here, please." So I waited until we got to the car, slammed the door shut, and demanded the truth. That's when the excuses started spilling out. I didn't want to worry you. It's just a temporary setback. I've been trying to handle it on my own." Every word felt like another slap. Handle it? He hadn't handled anything. He'd buried us. While I was cutting coupons and saving every spare penny for our future, he was secretly drowning us in debt. I pressed him harder. How much? How long? Why didn't I know? And slowly, the details began to unravel. Late-night work dinners were really him staying out because he couldn't face the bills piling up. That bonus he bragged about last year, it had been eaten alive by minimum payments. The worst part wasn't just the money, it was the betrayal. The sheer arrogance of letting me dream about backyards and nurseries while he already knew those dreams were impossible. Sitting in that car, staring at a man I thought I knew, I realized this wasn't just financial irresponsibility, it was deception. A house wasn't the only thing I'd lost that day. I'd lost the person I thought I was building it with. The silence on the drive home was unbearable. I stared out the window, fists clenched in my lap, while he kept opening his mouth like he wanted to explain, then shutting it again. By the time we walked through the front door, I couldn't take it anymore. "Start talking," I said. My voice was calm, but my insides were shaking. That's when the flood of excuses came. He told me he didn't want me to stress, that he thought he could fix it before I ever found out, that it was just a phase and that once he got on top of things, none of it would matter. But every word just made me angrier. "You didn't protect me," I snapped. "You lied to me. You let me build dreams on sand while you stood there smiling." He swore he'd kept it hidden because he loved me, because he didn't want to drag me down. But that's exactly what he did. He dragged me into a financial mess I never signed up for. I felt betrayed in a way I can't even describe. It wasn't about numbers on a page. It was about the nights we spent planning our future, about the way he held my hand in front of real estate agents, knowing all along it was a performance. That night, I cried harder than I had in years, not just for the house we lost, but for the trust I could never get back. And the cruel truth was sinking in fast. This wasn't just his debt anymore. He'd made it ours. When I finally told my parents, they were livid, not just at him, but at me too, for not noticing sooner. My dad kept shaking his head, saying, "You don't start a marriage with secrets like that." My mom asked if I was really willing to tie my future to someone who couldn't even be honest about a credit card bill. On his side, it was the opposite. His family rushed to defend him, brushing it off as if debt was just part of being an adult. "Everyone struggles with money," his sister said. "You can work through this if you really love each other." But they weren't the ones sitting across from a banker being told their future was canceled in an instant. They weren't the ones who felt humiliated, blindsided, betrayed. The dream of stability we'd been building was gone. No house, no foundation, and most painfully, no trust. Because once trust cracks, it doesn't matter how many times you tell yourself it can be patched. You'll always see the fracture underneath. That's what I was left with. The ruins of a future I thought was real, and a man who wasn't who I believed he was. Looking back, I realized the debt itself wasn't the deepest cut. Money can be repaid, credit can be rebuilt, but trust, once it's broken, it doesn't grow back the same. What haunted me wasn't the numbers on his statements, but the nights he smiled at me while knowing the truth. It wasn't just about money, it was about honesty, about partnership, about building a life on a foundation that was supposed to be solid. And once I saw the cracks, I couldn't unsee them. Our future didn't collapse because of debt. It collapsed because of lies. He thought he could bury his mistakes under minimum payments and charm. But secrets don't stay buried forever. They resurface at the moment you need truth the most. Debt can empty your bank account, but lies empty your future. And that's a cost I'll never pay again.